Well, hey there, folks. It's Barry's Best Honey. I'm Mike, and I do bees. But today, I'm not gonna do bees. It's been cloudy, rainy, it's hot, sticky, and humid. So today, I'm doing honey. Honeycomb, that is. Well, folks, welcome down here to Southeast Louisiana. Down here to the deep south. Anyhow, today I've got to cut some comb honey. Comb honey last year was a bust. It was a bust. It wasn't. Let me qualify that. It really wasn't a bust, but it got cattywampus. It got cross-combed. Yeah, last year we had probably 3 or 4 good years of really good comb honey production. And last year it just didn't work out. Swapped the hive. Hive was weak that I started it on. Got it on another one. Built it out, but then they just cross-combed it. I attribute that to my foundation. It got wavy in there in the heat. I didn't fasten it good. The frames, I've been using the same ones for quite a while. I use shallow frames with a shallow super. Not a medium, a shallow. So this year I was more meticulous in getting the foundation in straight so where it wouldn't droop. What happened last year, I think it drooped and pulled kind of loose from the top. Well, I'll show you what happened this year. So last year, let me go back. Last year what I did was I salvaged what I could in pieces of chunk, and I made chunk comb. So the chunk comb, basically I would salvage big chunks of comb, put it in a pint jar, wide mouth, fill it back up, backfill with honey. And it's a good seller. People like it. It's kind of more of a novelty, I would think, but I mean, you can pull that comb out and eat it. That's no problem. But that's what I sold it as. But to me, that was a bust. And of course, this year you saw, if you watch back on my videos, the Ross rounds was a failure. Was it year before? No, that was last year was a failure. This year I took it off after I'd already started. But the years before, I did good with Ross rounds for 1 or 2 seasons. They did good, but the rest of the time I was just doing regular shallow frames. So all I ended up sticking with this year was the shallow box with 10 frames of shallow, ultra thin foundation for the bees to build on, draw out, and then cut up. Well, another bad year. When I do cut comb, it's cut comb, I guess, but when I do honeycomb, I don't use a queen excluder. I know you should, but I don't, because I usually get, as one gets started, a normal medium was one gets started being filled, I'll turn around and put the comb honey on top of that one and keep building up. Well, this thing was above 2 supers, and they built it out all right, but the queen went all the way up there. This thing had 5 supers stacked on it. It was a giant hive, giant colony. The hive was tall, and sure enough, she got up in there on about half of the frames. So once you get brood in them, you can't use it. It's got the cocoon material. It's no good. I mean, you could, I guess, you could squeeze it out, do whatever, but it's not comb honey quality to sell. Can't have any brood in that. So anyway, got about half the frames. I think I'll get 15 squares out of them all, which is usually I get about 30 to 35. My best year, I got just shy of the 40 that is in a box. And then what I'm always left over in each frame, there's always a strip left over, and that I make chunk honey out of. But this year I think I'm only going to be able to salvage maybe 15 squares, but that's still good. That's better than nothing. And it's not real pretty. It's kind of wavy, and I'll show you all that. But I want to show you how I cut my comb honey up and what I do and how I market it in my packaging. And it's all the typical stuff you can buy from all the bee guys that are out there, the bee houses. Let's go inside the honey house. I got some candles I got to make. I'll spare you that. Nothing new here. Same old honey house that you've seen before. Same place. But this is where I like to do all my work. We've been having a lot of rain. Looks like more rain moving in. And I need to take a couple of these buckets and dump them in my bottler and all that good stuff. So I got little chores to do out here, but I do want to get to this right here. Comb honey. Here's some of the issues. See how it's kind of wet on the bottom? I don't like that. But as I cut from the top, that'll be flush. And then down here, I'll probably cut up just a little bit to get this bottom mess out. But see that wet capping? That's not good. That's not it doesn't make it pristine, and it's kind of wavy. Some of them are more so than others. So it's not the prettiest comb honey this year, but it's better than what I got last year, which was all that crisscross comb stuff. And I actually still have some of that left to show you what I do with that stuff. I just salvage it and cut it up into chunks. And then you take that and put it in a pint jar and backfill it with honey. It sells good. It's not much less than what you sell the squares of comb honey for. And this is what we end up selling. Let's hold it to the light, maybe you can see it a little better. But chunk honey, it sells really well. So it's not like it's a loss when they cross-combed it all up. What's a loss is when I got brood up in there. And it looks like it was only one shot. She hit it one time just at some of the lower ends of the frame. The typical, she got up probably in the super below and then just went slightly up into the comb super. And again, I don't use excluders. I know it's a chance I take, but I normally don't have that problem because it's up above enough honey. But this time it was a monster colony. And she put just that little bit of rainbow on the bottom of like 5 or 6 frames, just enough to ruin it. So I can actually, a couple of those I'm going to be able to salvage out pieces of it and then salvage some chunk honey like that. But for the most part, probably 4 or 5 frames completely shot. I put them out and let the bees clean them out and rob them back out back when I first pulled it. So that's not a big deal. Hey man, if we get 15, that's something, and that's not nothing. You see my top bar? I saved it. This is all that's left of the old top bar after the tree destroyed it. I saved it. I just wanted to save what I could of it because it was pretty neat. It was something I built. I'm not a woodworker, y'all know that. And my wife and I built it, and she painted it, and it was all decorated. And hey, it kept bees. You can see that. Look at the old swarm lure that was left in there. I would take old swarm lures and old swarm bags and stuff, and just throw in there and leave it if I didn't have a colony in it. And we've never like added bees to it. Had a little glass on the back. Surprise bugs. And you could see inside it. But it was a neat little colony. So I saved this, and I got like a small cake of wax out of the comb. I was able to salvage a lot of the comb, but by the time we cut this out from under the tree, the small hive beetle maggots were in it. Bad. Anyway, first thing I do is I look for the prettiest side. Unfortunately, this is wavy and it's got a bump, but it's actually the nicer side compared to that because it's got that wet cappings. But hopefully we'll eliminate a lot of that. So I got to cut this out of the frame and lay it on this because I want it to drain on this grating. So this nice little small serrated knife does a great job, and I just trim it all out. So obviously the least pretty side is going to, well, I'm digging into the wood here. It's going to go into the, the container. Not hiding anything, it's advertising, right? I don't want to lay this one down flat because it's kind of bumpy. I'm going to have to end up laying it on this side. But I just cut it out here, and it's going to have a drip between the 2 pans, but cut the top. I got to cut it close because I want to try and cut some of this bottom out. I don't think I'm going to be able to. Sorry about that, wasn't even showing you a good video. Whoa. Well, y'all about went down. Alright, so here we go. I just cut this out. Oh, it cracked. Well, that's going to be the end we don't use. So that's a bummer. But that'll be my end I don't use. I always get a little piece of chunk honey out. Pull that frame off. Throw this in the sink for now. And I let it drain. I see 2 cracks. So I got a crack here. Crack there. This honey's dry. Even though it's tallow, it's very thin. Now, you see these in the catalogs? They don't cut. So I don't use them to cut with. I use them to measure. So, because I want to try and cut some of this bottom out, there's a mark Oh, right on the crack. How perfect is that? Right there, and then see, you get 3, and you get 4. This one's going to have a crack in it. So go ahead and mark that one down a little bit. And then I just cut, I use this as a measuring stick. And I cut it. Now you can go ahead and put these right into a container, but if you do, it just fills the container up and it's really not a nice presentation. It's still just as good, obviously, but I let it drain, and this will probably drain for, I'll probably let it drain about an hour or 2. Because it's nice, I got it somewhat warm in here. And this one is just going to be, this one's going to be the one I'm not happy with. But I'm going to still market it. I'm going to probably knock it down a little bit. And then this piece I can throw into a small jar. So I just stick them together. And I'll throw that there. And then this is going to go together. So very quickly, let me show you what we have, why it's not a good year. This, just not good looking comb honey at all. Okay, we're going to lose this. So probably get 1 out of this, and I'll make the rest strips for chunk honey. We're going to use it. So this is the prettiest side. I can get a nice square out of this, maybe 2. It's legitimate. It'll be nice. And then the rest will be strips for chunk honey. Here's one where the only reason I saved this one, the bottom, you can see right where they got the brood, right through here. She got up there. So I'm going to be able to use this, and then I'm going to go through here, cut the brood out, and make chunk honey out of that. So we salvage that. This is another one that's nice. This one's a nice one. A little wavy, a little wet on the bottom, but bad side over there. This one's full, so we'll get 4 out of this one. So there's 4, 8, we'll get 12, 13, and this one's, the only reason I saved this one, you can see she got up into this one. This is probably right in the center. I'm going to take and cut this out so I can make chunk honey. So I'm going to get a dozen, maybe 14 or 15, depending on how I cut it, how I salvage it. Just depends. There's 2 plus 4 more, plus 4, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, so probably about 15. Give or take. We'll see. So, of course, with this one, we have a bit of a challenge. It's, you know, I could probably sell this, actually. And then I can get 2 out of this. So that's what we'll do is, and I won't sell these. Like, I used to sell them, what did we start? We started like at 15 or 18 or something back in the day, and we weren't moving a lot, so I think we dropped it down, and we ended up going too low. One year, and we realized, man, we can actually, you know, the market's higher for this right now. But I won't sell anybody if it's ugly like this. I won't sell it for the full price. It's just the right thing to do. I'm surprised how dry it is that it's cracking like that. That's a good thing, though. And there you go. So we'll salvage what we can out of this. I'll get 1, 2, possibly 3 pieces out of this. I at least 2. So we're gonna get a decent. We're gonna get a decent take from this. Yeah, we'll get. Oh yeah, perfect, perfecto. So let's get the other side. And I use this just to mark. I've heard people say, well, dip it in hot water, do this, do that. I've ruined more. It's just as easy with a knife. It really is. Just get the knife and cut it, and drain it. See, we're draining good over here. This right here, this will be mine. I tell you, there's something about that honey, and I used to do this at the market. I'd take a piece like this, and I'd have it set up, and I would cut pieces for people. And there's just something different about honey in the comb. I don't know if it's because there's not been oxygen to it. I don't know. What I can tell you is, it's just got a better taste. Yeah, it just does. And so we cut. Got me a grate under this one. I need to get a grate under it. I didn't have a spare. I went in the house and got one. Should have started with one. Helps it from cracking. But it'll work. Work. Ideally, I'd like them all to look like this. Chunk honey, 4 pieces. Well there folks, these have drained pretty well. What I use is these little clamshells from Man Lake. You can buy different types of containers for these comb honeys, but they're all expensive until you buy in bulk. And these seem to be pretty cheap. As cheap as you can get anywhere else for the most part, I guess. They got this lip in the bottom. I like that because the residual honey that does still remain goes down in there into that little lip, so it keeps this dry. But these have drained for about an hour, and I had to trim off a little bit. Like I said, I had actually trimmed them just a bit too big. And I just drop them in like so. And then the key to this is keeping one hand free of honey and one hand with honey. I actually am OCD, so I run the comb pattern that way with how that closes. Okay, and that's all I do, and that's my comb honey. These, they sell pretty well. They don't sell fast, but they sell pretty consistent. And so as I was talking with somebody during last season, I think it was Justin from over in over west of here, we were talking about comb honeys and boxes. And you know, you figure at comb honey, if you sell these, I don't know, let's just say 12 as an average, or 15. Let's just even say $10. Let's just say you sell these for $10 a piece, and you get 30 out of a box. That's $300 in one box, right? But you figure you can get anywhere from $300 or $400 out of a comb super, so it's worth running one, I think, because out of a regular super, medium now, I'm talking medium supers, say you get, usually on a very, very good super, I mean a good super, you could pull 3 gallons. Most time it's just under 3, maybe 2.5 to 3. You may get anywhere from $200 to $250 a super for liquid honey. So yeah, I don't want to produce all comb honey, but to have a box or two in your inventory, that's pretty good. That's pretty good profit. So these things stack nice without crushing the comb below, but of course you don't want to stack 10 on top of each other. But they are pretty solid as far as squishing down, because they stack with that little lip around there. And I just stack them up like so. And then I've got little comb honey labels I put on them. So there you are. And that's how they all stack out. Looks like I'm going to get 16 total. Again, that's better than 0. And that's better than 10. It's not as good as 35. So, there you go. Just that simple. Again, these aren't the most beautiful combs, but these will sell. These are nice. These are definitely nice enough to sell as comb honey. I appreciate everybody joining me in my little adventure here, joining me in my vlog, because it's a vlog, not a how-to video, as you guys well know. So again, thanks a lot for coming along. If you like this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, and don't forget to share this video with friends, family, anybody that just enjoys watching bees. Hey, it's Barry's Best Honey. I'm Mike, and I do bees. Today, we did honeycomb. Y'all have a wonderful, wonderful evening. May Lord God bless you. We'll see y'all later.